Welcome to Book Thots. We are thoughts for books, and these are our thoughts on books. No laughing while I'm introducing us. We are serious thoughts. For the 7th episode, we're reviewing chapters 49 through 56 of Onyx Storm, the 3rd book of the Empyrean Series. This is part 7 of our 10-week journey.
Before we begin, we do have a content warning. Today's podcast is rated mature. We are Book Thots, after all, so we are going to be using adult language talking about adult topics, so please pay attention to who may be listening near you. This episode, we will contain spoilers for Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm. We focus on specific chapters each episode, but our conversation will include the entirety of the series. So if you haven't read them, today's podcast is not for you. Lastly, I am just going to apologize ahead of time. I, maybe we, but definitely me, will at least mispronounce a name or place. Emily will be giving the recap and the strip down of these chapters.
If you keep sucking that mitt into this microphone, I will murder you.
I'm not going to.
That's not a threat either. That's a promise. I'll look right in the camera and say it.
She's scary.
I'm scary when I'm mean. Chapter 49. Why do I always get the sexy chapters?
Because you're a sexy lady.
Ooh, sexy ladies. Even a recap will not do this chapter justice, so if you're listening, just reread it when you get a moment. The gist, more furniture is broken. I hope they have a membership to IKEA at this point. Xaden can keep his Veninous in control even during these moments, and wow, are these two in love? They call it worshipping. My favorite line from this chapter, though, is when it says, "The complete awe I feel when I remember that you are mine."
Take me to church.
Take me to church. We're just going to sing songs this whole episode, apparently. Okay, so this chapter is pretty famous on BookTok of people trying to reenact the positions they were taking. Did you guys have a hard time picturing it? I didn't feel like it was that confusing.
I didn't think it was confusing at all. They're using a chair. If you haven't been imaginative in the bedroom, that's on you.
Fair. I just I remember before I finished the book, I had some spoilers pop up, but it was just saying reenacting chapter 49. Rereading it, I was like, maybe I didn't get it, and I just went over it soon, but then I reread it again. I was like, no, I must have gotten it.
No, the videos make me laugh when they try and they're like, this is what really happened. And I'm like, who needed this? But I'm great that I get this whole visualization now.
Yeah. Question of curiosity. Where do you think authors go to write these scenes? Because I personally would have to go into a closet by myself, could not be near anyone else to write these type of scenes.
Really? You'd have to be completely isolated?
I don't think I could be in a coffee shop writing this. Or maybe that's the best spot.
Might help to have an audience.
Yeah. What if you had a little steamy scene that morning and now you've got an audience to kind of casually look at and be like, this is what I'm writing right now.
Yeah, you don't know what I just did. Okay, maybe you're changing my mind because I pictured, all right, Jordan, I'm going to go write a sexy chapter. I'm going to go sit in our closet, crisscross applesauce by myself. I don't know. I feel like I would need
distraction from the kids.
Yeah.
I need my husband to just be like, honey, I've got the kids for a little bit after we just had some fun. And I'd be like, thanks for the inspo.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah, you take the children. I don't want
interruption.
The child running in when you're about to, and then he was ready for me, you know? So anyways, it's a sexy chapter. Go read it if you haven't read it already, or reread it if you didn't understand the positions. I personally liked this sexy scene. I think that it was so much more than the physical aspects in this. I feel like their love is palpable off the paper. So I really enjoyed this. And that's why I said the complete awe I feel when I remember that you're mine. That's kind of how I feel with my spouse, is that it's just him and I for the rest of life. And then, there are people that do their own thing out there, but I'm not one of them. I only got one.
Yep. It says that Violet notes that he's using his shadows with only his mind without lifting a finger. Yeah. And I just think that maybe that's kind of important, that he's so strong now that he doesn't have to use his hands. So I don't know if she's showing us something different or if that's always been the case with Xaden.
I think when it comes to Xaden and Violet, I don't think he's had to use his hands, because some of the moments that he has used his shadows with her, they've been very emotional, whether he's upset, whether it's a steamy hot moment and they're just, there to make love.
I definitely think his powers are progressing because of his Venin-hood. Chapter 50. This chapter opens up in an all too familiar place, a nightmare in front of the sage. But this is where we find out that Violet is actually in Xaden's dream. She's a dreamwalker, her second signet, which is a type of intrinsic. And rereading this dream with that knowledge, there's so much to note, so I want to do a few bullet points with questions. The sage begins choking Xaden after he states, "I am not yours." The sage then says, "You are ours." Who is ours? Do you think he's just talking about Venin?
Yes, that's the obvious answer.
Or do you think there's like another evil person that he's working with?
It almost seems like they've been trying to get Xaden and Violet on their side to begin with all along, whether that's turning them Venin and that's being successful. That's what I take it as, is like, you now belong to us.
Yes.
Asim or not, you will fully turn. Even Theophany is like, oh, you will be ours. You will come over to our side. I'm not just dangling knowledge here just to bait you. I'm telling you that this is going to happen.
It says Xaden will bring him what he wants or she dies. And Xaden says, "You do not have her." And the sage repeats the usual, "You will bring her to me." Xaden assumes it's Violet, but do you have any reason to think it could be someone else? Could it be Andarna? Could he be talking about Sagel Bagel?
Yeah, those lines, especially in the dream, it's just so vague. It could be Violet. It could be even Tyrandor.
That's
like,
that's what I was gonna say, because that's the sage who has the sword of Tyrandor in Violet's dream. So what if it is Tyrandor that he's talking about?
I didn't think about that, but they do use she, her pronouns with a Tyrandor.
It's almost like they're building an army, but we don't know what the end game is for this. What all other than dragons, because they have their wyverns that they've been
conjuring. Yeah. I don't know how they make them.
I know, that's kind of what I was trying to figure out the word for.
There's like a rune in the middle of them, and they control them through the rune.
The sword of Tyrandor is again being held at the throat of Xaden. Is this more proof it's the grandfather?
Dun, dun, dun.
You're thinking the sage is his grandfather?
Could it be?
I think it's either his family line or it's Berwyn is Naolan.
Yeah, lots of people think Berwyn is Naolan, but
we do talk about that later too.
I was thinking that it's possible it's Xaden's grandfather, because we don't have the death receipts.
Death receipts.
I like that you pointed that out.
Things that we learn. The dream takes place near Dratheus. People will immediately kill Violet if they find out that she's an intrinsic. That's nothing new. And this gift is more dangerous than lightning. Do you think we will see her killing or harming people in the next book in dreams? Is that why it's more dangerous?
I think this is going to progress quickly. Now that she knows what's happening, I think, and that's what's so dangerous about it, I think that those slipping into people's dreams and manipulating, harming, because until she's fully aware that she's actually in the dream, it's very dangerous. And then once she can become, she's like a weapon like Dana's.
Yeah, because it says, well, you're not only in the dream, you meddle. Because I wasn't going to do that, and then you made me do it that way. So she has control of the dreamer. Does that mean she has control of the dreamer's mind as well? Like, how is she going to be able to shape people and do things?
And this future thing, can she see the future, or is that her meddling?
What
like
future
with
thing?
With the dream, with when we saw
the dream
with the
that we talked about last episode. Yeah,
that's interesting to me, because like that could also kind of manipulate what happens in events later on.
Well, we jump into a fan theory that has to talk about maybe her signet is more than what we think. Also, does Andarna severing the bond and then coming back play anything into it? Mm-hmm. Could it shift? Could she not be a dreamwalker for, I don't know, how long has she gone? 2 weeks and then comes back?
My theory is she doesn't actually lose
the bond,
because it wasn't Andarna that severed it. So I think that there's something still going to be connected there. I don't think she loses the dreamwalker ability. I mean, that would also mean she doesn't lose the bond.
Well, and then this chapter ends with them under attack, but I did have one last thing to note. When they both wake up, they both say they've had nightmares, and they go, "Must be the storms, must be." I know that her nightmare previous to this was also during a storm.
Yep.
Do we think storms play a role into this, like, manifesting or her having these nightmares?
Do you think the storms are her, or do you think the storms are still Theophany getting closer?
Because we've also said we might think they're Dune.
Yeah, I feel like it might be Dune. Or her power is just so much more. I think I've said in the very first episode, potentially she could have as many signets as Andarna can change colors. And if Andarna is magic, I feel like that well is endless. So I can't tell if it's Theo, if it's Violet, if it's the god of Dune, if Lilith's making a comeback, even though we saw her get sucked out of life.
I just think there is definitely significance in the storms, and I don't know when we're going to see what connection it has or how many connections it has.
Chapter 51. They are under attack. Peeper. Okay. They are under attack. People are jolting awake and rushing to put on their gear. Violet will take the wall while the rest of the riders, besides the first years and unfortunately Bodhi, split themselves between the wardstone and the wall. As Violet is heading out to Terran, Arik stops her and tells her she has to protect Dune's temple. And he doesn't just say this passively, he says it as a command, and that it's how she will save Tyrrendor. On Terran, Violet waits for the hordes of wyvern, seen in the light of her lightning. Ree orders her to stay close to the wall, but Terran tells her that's the wrong order. Knowing she is going against orders, she listens to Terran and they go on their own. Andarna is protecting the wardstone, or she is told to, and Terran is going full badass mode, cracking wyverns' necks and spraying blood. 4 wyvern are trying to fly undetected, and in their flight path, Andarna. She isn't where she's supposed to be. When is she ever? Terran dips low and Violet begins to wield. Among the wyvern's riders is Silver Hair. Thunder shakes the earth and Terran cries in pain. We said it last episode. I'll say it again. Why doesn't Arik just confide in Violet? Why
like fully?
Yeah, just say, hey, I'm an Intensic. I can see the future or whatever it is that he has. Go protect Dune's temple because I know that's what you need to do.
Maybe it's because he still has the ability to see the future, but kind of like Melgren, some of the outcomes can change. But for full transparency, I don't know. It's kind of frustrating, but I don't feel like I know everything that's going on in his head because of his Intensic nature.
Yeah.
Well, we know that Sagel Bagel had pretty much threatened Xaden not to tell anybody about his Intensic ability too. So we don't know what
his dragon is saying.
His dragon has told him and like how much he's allowed to warn the others.
True.
Because the dragon is
true.
letting him live. The dragon didn't kill him upon being Intensic. And I don't know if we've seen dragons kill them if they're Intensic. We've only seen people kill other Intensic people.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they don't. Sagel didn't, so at least some of them don't.
And Darna didn't. And Tarn, now that he knows, is not.
Tarn.
Whatever.
Train. How long has he had powers? Do you think? Yeah. Do you think it's even before the Isles, all during the Isles? Because that could play a big role into how much he's foreseen. And maybe that is actually why he stepped in Holden's place. Maybe he developed his signet, and as much as he also hates Holden, he did it because he knew he needed to be there.
I think he's had his powers a lot longer in this book than we realize.
I mean, the first time we see it, I think, is when he grabs Lynx, right? Out of the way, which was literally the previous chapter.
Well, a few chapters.
2
before.
chapters.
Yeah.
I just think he's had it for a lot longer. And I think that maybe he's been confiding in Xaden. What is
Did
wrong
you say
with me?
Satan?
I said Xaden. Maybe he's been confiding in Xaden.
Later on in the next chapter, I think it is, Violet gets in trouble for following Terran, right? She follows his orders. Doesn't make sense to me because the person that's getting onto her is also like a general.
Yeah,
whatever
the
his name
dragons
is.
are the more powerful one in this regard. Especially if you're getting orders from your dragon, you think you're really in trouble?
No, but that's what's confusing is that the people that know how dragons work, know how Violet works, know how strong Terran is, they're still getting onto her for not following orders. And that just like blows my mind that we're this far into the series, this far into the book, and she's getting in trouble for that. And Ree gets in trouble because they're like, keep control of your command.
I was just going to say, I thought it was only because it was almost like they thought it was an unnecessary risk at that point where it wasn't like more of a benefit. It was more baiting and she fell right into that trap.
But either way, it wasn't her decision.
True.
Yeah.
But they've been doing that the whole time, especially to Violet.
True.
Yeah.
They don't care that her dragon is a general dragon. They care about the people and following the orders of the people. Like, she got punished to the point of burnout because she let Terran and Sagel see each other. Sagale. She's been punished before for listening to the dragons and doing what the dragons say, which is supposedly number 1 on the codex or whatever, right? Isn't it?
I think the thing that shocks me the most about it, though, is it isn't Basgiath people that are getting onto her. It's Tyrrendor people who I guess I just assume they have their head on straight a little bit more. So it bothers me.
No, we saw how like at odds they were in the second book. They don't get along. They don't think they should make the same decisions, just like we know the Venin don't get along.
Chapter 52. Violet lands with an injured Terran, but instead of Terran being worried about his injuries, he is worried about Violet burning out, so he tells her to shut it down. She reluctantly does. He was injured in the leg, but it's not life-threatening. They have landed in front of Dune's temple, where Andarna has been protecting because Onyx said so. After an adolescent fit, Violet assesses Terran's injuries. The wing spur is half the size of Violet and embedded in his thigh. Ree shows up on the scene to help out, and she does exactly that. Using her signet, she retrieves the wing spur. I have no clue what a wing spur is.
I think it's a bone.
Yeah?
No, it's a claw.
A bone of a wing? What were you thinking?
Like a spur when Batman throws his
Like a
I'm
battering.
Thinking, I'm thinking it was like something thrown in to harm him, and it's just got lodged. It's got a bunch of like spikes, but like
like ninja throwing stars.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm picturing. I could be totally wrong.
We're taking your word as God.
I definitely thought it was just part of the wing that he snapped off. Like
it might be. Yeah, like a spur in that regard.
Like a bone spur, but it's from the wing. They don't have much time to celebrate before wyverns are on the scene. The temple attendants are refusing to go inside and are even asking if Violet dyes her hair to get the silver. Are they mad? This is about to be a matter of life and death. Ree, being the amazing friend she is, refuses to leave Violet. Theo arrives and she is definitely not welcome as the priestess shout, "Heretic! Heretic!" Which sounds like a diarrhea medicine to me. It sounds like a made-up word. Theophany was a priestess of Dune. She and 2 more men in red robes walk up. Andarna tries to scorch Theo, but she stands untouched. Before she can say a snide remark, she looks up to the sky and her eyes widen. She grabs hands with the other 2 dark wielders and vanishes. Before Violet understands what made her run, 4 wyvern approach. She strikes one, but the other 3 are approaching fast. Actually, falling fast with a blank gaze. They land with a thump and slide into the temple. Chunks of the temple almost crush Violet, but of course, dark shadows stop them. Xaden is here! And a very upset Sagel-Bagel. She blames Violet for Terran's injuries. Xaden tells Violet that the wards are back up. But how? The sound of a slide whistle screeches through her head. Leo Than, I just like to call him Leo, one of the Irids is here, and he used his fire on the ward stone. I just have to say, it is not until this chapter that they talk about dyeing their hair.
But these priestess that are in this temple don't have silver. They have white. There is very much a distinction made there. They have white hair, and they ask about the silver hair. And when at the Isles, those had silver in their hair.
Well, it also uses attendants and priestess kind of
loosely.
So is there a difference between the two, or the same?
Maybe Asher's not from the continent. Maybe he's from the Isles past.
What makes you say that?
I don't know. I just figured like maybe that's why he travels so much and wants to gain so much knowledge overall. That was just a random thought I had, but because why not?
How old is he? I just need to know these things.
He groomed Lilith.
Yeah. Because he relies so heavily with like the Dune and having Violet have Dune's favor, I was wondering like, could he be from somewhere else? He's really entrusting the gods in this regard. Is it because of his research that he's done? I just thought there was maybe more to that.
I mean,
absolutely.
He kidnapped his daughter because he believed so wholeheartedly that the gods could save her.
Well, and he was trained as a scribe for the longest time, or like he has the knowledge. So like, I feel like there's
maybe he's the sage.
Oh man, could you imagine when Mira and Brennan in? Maybe that's why he says, "Bring her to me," and it's like either one, Mira, Violet, all of them.
Well, just in case I might change my Malik to him and kill him twice, like a double tap.
I do think that there's something weird with Mr. Asher Daxton Sorengale. I also think that there's something with Mama. I'm very, very intrigued.
Don't you think he's actually dead, though?
I do. I do think he's actually dead.
Do you think he's actually dead?
I mean, I go back and forth, but I think Lilith is definitely dead.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure that Mama Sorengale would have kept that from her daughters, knowing that they already lost their brother. I feel like maybe.
Oh, like that if he faked his death?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
but she didn't know Brennan was really alive.
Dick.
I don't know.
Unforgivable. Unforgivable. Any sibling out there that tries to pull this shit, I'm just telling you right now, unforgivable.
It is
If
completely.
you fake your own death on a dragon, you're done. Done.
No sibling of mine is gonna do that.
No. Taryn is mad at Andarna in this chapter and says, your inability to follow simple orders will get her killed, and I will not lose her as I did the one who came before. I find it interesting that he said this right after she almost burnt out or was on the cusp of burning out, and he was worried about that. Because I think in this scenario, he is talking about, I will not lose her like the one before, because he reached burnout, turned Venin.
Yeah, like, does burnout really necessarily always mean death, or does death, in a sense, could be just like you're turning Venin, and that's what he's afraid is, like, that magic is gone because you've drained yourself and now you're Aesum.
And the one time that Violet was super tempted to turn Venin was when she was nearing burnout. When she's
Imbued?
Imbuing.
The word stone?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard one, that word.
I couldn't
Language
spell
is
it.
difficult, I'll be
Oh,
honest.
God, I can't.
Several times I misspelled it.
Honestly, you could put me in like a 3rd grade spelling bee and I'd be one of 10 people out first, probably.
What's hard for me is since I heard so many languages in my home growing up, sometimes I just jumble them all together and it's like it becomes Spanglish in a whole new world.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's a word that doesn't exist, but it made sense to me.
But how cool would it be if you wrote a book and then all your characters / places were just Spanglish?
Ooh, I just read a couple that were like that. She really does.
You get to make up your own fantasy world with your own language. People would think I made up a fantasy world with my own language, but it would be me actually trying to spell real words. And then
You'd be like, I just didn't have a dictionary.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be kind of devil's advocate on your take on that sentence and think that he's talking about Andarna getting her actually killed, right? So what if Naolan did actually get killed?
Didn't we talk about that last episode? Like, we keep saying almost everyone is what if he's still alive, but what if he's just actually
what
dead?
if he actually, because he says your inability to follow simple orders will get her killed and I won't lose her as I did the one. I mean, he could just be saying lose because he had to sever the bond and lost Naolan.
We don't have the death receipts, so
True.
there's no telling.
It's true.
Well, and the fact is we really don't know who these Venin are until they reveal themselves. So, like, once we figure out who each individual is, because I think names change once they become Venin.
And we know that they have the ability to be walkers.
So you're saying that Venin have the ability?
Yeah, because the two robed ones take Theo away, and Violet notes that it's exactly like what happens when Garrick walks.
Yeah, and I think in an earlier episode, we think that it's actually Theo that has that ability, but I don't think she has that ability because it says, like, she has to grab the hands, and she says go. Rhee is mad at Violet for trying to do everything on her own. Is she rightfully upset? Do you think that Violet seems like she has to do everything on her own?
I feel like Violet knows she has so much power. We kind of said either earlier or in the chapter or in the episode before that she already knows that she's going to be a powerful weapon in this battle. So I feel like she does it sometimes to keep her friends safe, but she also goes headstrong into it thinking like, I could be the one to help here. Like, I could save them all if Taryn and I can actually get there first.
And just as Violet is scared to lose Rhee, Rhee is just as scared to lose Violet.
And I love that friendship about them. I love that honesty there. Like,
Me too.
Like you said, friendship is so important in these books, and it really shows. I mean, I love what Rebecca does with these two characters because it shows the sisterly love too there. It's like, I know you are capable of so much more, but I'm also trying to protect you and know when you need me. I see why she's upset. I do see why Rhee's upset. She also just got in trouble for her not following orders. So I think she just doesn't want to lose Violet to going in by herself without having the additional help behind her.
But I also think that Violet is stuck in a hard place because however she wants to argue about it, she also has the mind of a leader. Her dragon's a leader. She has the mind of a leader. The way that she wants to lead, though, is that she's going to take the most risk.
So does Xaden.
Yeah.
I mean, they both do.
It's not great because great leaders need great people behind them that they trust. And if you don't have that, then you're not going to be super successful.
Great leaders know their weaknesses and assign better people to do that job.
Well, and we see in every book that we've read, I mean, they all have that same commonality. Like, it's just they're not thinking of putting their friends in that
line of fire.
Line of fire. Thank you.
Do you think Theo is stronger because she was a priestess? Or I think we talked about how the gods might have stripped her, or Dune would have stripped her of her power. But specifically the beginning of this chapter, it does say the closest to the power of the gods that you can have is dedicating your life to the temples or being a writer. So it just made me think, could she be exceptionally strong because she was a priestess?
Yes.
Okay, and that's all. Chapter 53.
I don't think Dune forgave her, though. And I think that's what we see in the upcoming chapters for sure. So even if she is more powerful because of the gods and becoming a priestess and dedicating her life, the minute she left, it was like, the gods can drain you at any point, or they're just biding their time being like, actually, now I have Violet's favor. Let's get the revenge and just see when this happens.
I did at first when I did read this book, I thought that she was scared because she saw maybe like Dune above the temple. It didn't click to me that it was she saw the Irid when her eyes go wide because she rejected the temple. So at first when I read it, I was like, oh, she's seeing the god. She's fearing the temple because of that.
That's what I thought.
I did too. I honestly thought the goddess was presenting herself. Yeah. I did. I really was like, oh, here we go.
Maybe it's Leo.
Maybe it is. Maybe Leo.
Leo
Fan is the god. That's Dune in disguise.
Leothan. Leothan? Is it Leothan?
You know what? We're just gonna roll with that one.
Leo fired the wardstone, but why? Violet is going to get some answers with Ree by her side, and Xaden finds somewhere else to be. His last meeting with the Irids didn't go so well. Leo did it for Andarna. He has been watching her since his arrival. When was that? No clue. He apparently is of the same bloodline as Andarna, her family. He tells Andarna that everyone must leave except Violet for their conversation. Everyone leaves, and Violet is even disconnected from Terran. Leo then offers for Andarna to come with him to learn the Irids way. But can she leave Violet? Terran? Sagel Bagel? Andarna reminds him that she is bonded. He says, so end it. Bonds are merely magical ties. You are Irid. You are magic. Bend it, shape it, break it as you see fit. No. Andarna is struggling with her decision, so Leo then asks Violet what Andarna should do. Violet says she wants Andarna to feel whole. Leo breaks the bond and flies away. Moments later, Andarna follows. Violet fights to breathe, fights to stay alive. She is close to giving up as reality sets in that she is no longer connected to Andarna. She then sees Xaden. She says, I exist for Terran, but I live for Xaden. Andarna's gone. Hot take. Maybe not hot take. The whole world might agree with me. I think that this is the saddest. Like, this happening, saddest part of the entire book. Quinn's chapter, Imogen's chapter, so sad.
Yeah.
But this, for some reason, the fact that you know that the writers are tethered to the dragons and that this is the most important bond that she'll ever have, and that breaking, I don't know. It really just gets to me.
I was crying when I reread the chapter.
Yeah, it's just so sad. Poor Violet. She even goes through it afterwards for like the longest time.
And writers, they're not supposed to survive that. They're supposed to die. So the fact that she exists after that is just very odd. Everything about Violet is a little odd. Why can she kill Venin? Why can she have a bond broken with a dragon? Why is all of this happening?
It does make me get a little angry at Andarna that she kind of, I mean, the Irid says that the other bond will be able to sustain her life. But Andarna risks it. Does she actually know that? She risks Violet's life.
I think that the Irid just, maybe he's intrinsic on his own. He kind of read her and was like, okay, she's kind of down for it, and I'm just going to make the decision.
This chapter wrecks me. So something that sticks out on this reread is Leo saying that it will take years, but she will learn their ways. Something must have happened to make her come back within, I don't know the timeline, months, weeks. It's quick. It's not years when she does come back at the end of this book. Something had to have happened where Andarna said, nope, even though I have the opportunity to take years to earn my spot, to prove my worth, I need to go back to the humans. I need to go back to Violet.
Well, I just feel like when she probably went to go stay with them, they just, again, gave her such a hard time with the fact that as Irids, they put peace and stuff above everything else. So the fact that she was raised a little bit differently being at Basgiath or at the Vale, maybe she finally put her foot down and was like, you know what? This is not how we save humanity.
Yeah. If you're
exactly
born in a perfect world of peace and over the ocean is another country struggling, are you really a kind that's devoted to peace if you're not willing to do anything to help those people?
You just want to wipe your hands of it. You just don't want to be involved. And I think that doesn't save the world either. So
I hate the Irids.
I'm not saying you need to step in every time, but this is still their war too, whether they want to acknowledge that or not.
Dragonkind are in it. They're a part of it.
I mean, they even left one of their own behind.
Yeah.
So
as a test.
As a weighing system. Okay, how does this one turn out? They sacrificed one of their own to test and see how everything is going to turn out.
You don't think they checked in on her to be like, you know what?
Yeah.
She's doing well.
Or leave a note.
Or
I don't know.
If they are checking on her because they can disguise themselves and obviously sneak in and out of the wards without being noticed, why aren't they presenting themselves to her or saying, dude, this ain't right. This isn't the plan. Come here.
Nature versus nurture.
Yes.
And you didn't want to step in at any point to help her at all. You completely left her on her own in a world of 650 years it took her to hatch or whatever. Like
AU.
And and there's hundreds of Irids.
Yeah.
And Leothan obviously didn't even know she had hatched because he had this reaction to her.
Can I Malik the whole kind?
Yeah, go for it.
All the Irids.
Go for it.
They're making me angry. They're making me angry.
You might anger some people, but that's fine.
Okay, I won't do all of them. I'll keep it in Darna.
I was going to say.
I'll give them a choice. They're making me more mad than the Venin, to be honest, because I feel like the Venin are at least upfront of who they are. We're going to drain the power, we're going to kill villages, and we just want more magic. Chapter 54. Andarna's gone. Gone with the wind. She left. She abandoned everyone. I feel abandoned. Violet feels abandoned. Violet doesn't leave her bed for 3 days, but she is surrounded by Brennan, her squad, and Xaden. She says, I sleep, but I don't dream. So sad. On the 4th day, Mira shows up and goes full sister mode. She refuses to lose Violet to her grief. As she is making progress, Brennan and Xaden enter. Violet says one word to Xaden and realizes it's the first time she has talked to him in 4 days. Mira and Brennan start to bicker. Violet tells them to figure it out while she goes and washes off 4 days of misery. After a few seconds alone, Xaden comes in to help. She wants to be taken care of but needs to press forward. Violet gets dressed and enters the bedroom to Mira and Brennan, still fighting. It's about her grandmother, Mira?
Yeah.
Nira?
Narnia?
I say Nyara, but
Nope,
could be
that's
totally
better.
wrong.
It's
Perfect.
about her grandmother, Nyara. Turns out Papa Sorengale really was going to dedicate Violet, and assumingly without Mama Sorengale's blessing. But they wouldn't accept her because Violet's future wasn't certain. She could still turn. Brennan demands the exact words that Mira heard from their grandmother that the priestess used to reject Violet. She said the heart that beat for you or within you would do the wrong thing for the right reason, reach for unspeakable power, and turn dark. Xaden takes this as an opportunity to reveal the truth to Mira. It has to be about him. He is turning Venin. He is Venin. Mira goes on defense, breaking out an alloy-hilted dagger. Violet steps in her way. Mira discovers she's the only one in the room who didn't know Xaden was Venin. She exits with saying, "Good luck keeping her alive." This whole chapter actually just makes me love Mira more. Just getting in bed, cuddling up with her, pushing her, but to an appropriate amount. She's rightfully pissed, although she did keep some stuff from Violet as well.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I'm with Mira all up into the point where she gets real mad at Violet. And I'm like, honey, this is a two-way street. Violet has a very good point. You kept information that's literally only about Violet from Violet. Violet kept something from you about Xaden, and it's a big deal for sure. But this is Violet that doesn't know her own history, and you're mute about it.
Maybe because of what Nyara or the grandmother told Mira. It's why Mira, knowing her sister so well, she's been keeping a very close eye on her, because she looks at her so often with things that I wonder if she already knows it's Xaden. And she's waiting to see if she can save her sister from falling to the same fate. Can she save both of them? She doesn't want to lose her sister, but she also knows that this was prophesized in some kind of capacity. And so she's afraid that she's watching her sister die in the process of knowing the truth.
They both have a reason to be hurt, rightfully so, because they kept stuff from each other. But it does make me a little more mad, like you said, that Mira keeps this information from Violet, because Violet could use this information.
I agree.
And if you are worried that your sister might turn Venin, confide in her about that. Don't hide it from her.
She just tells her, instead, when she asks questions, she's like, just go talk to Grandma. I'm like, yeah, that would be a great opportunity, but you also know something and you're right in front of me.
And Grandma, where does she live? Because you had to take leave to go visit her. Is she north? Are we going north?
Mm-hmm.
We're going
north.
That whole sentence that you put in quotations about, she said the heart that beat for you or within you would do the wrong thing for the right reason. Reach for unspeakable power and turn dark. That is the end of this book. We are leading into book 4 that way.
But why didn't her dedication go through? What
got interrupted?
And also, what was so wrong with Violet that they had to go do that? I think that's the next chapter I talk about that, but it says that people would bring their children to help them. You would only dedicate your baby to the gods if you wanted to help them.
Right.
So what did she need help with? What did she need fixing?
Also, though, it's the part of Mama Sorrengail's journals that are missing.
Yes.
That whole time period. And Mama Sorrengail drops Brennan and Mira off with Papa Sorrengail. They both drop him off.
Yeah.
Then where does Mama go that she doesn't know?
She had to go undo everything.
Too many Mama and Papas.
Mama and Papa.
Where does she go during that time period that is ripped from her journals? And how does Asher get away from her with Violet during that time? Did she have another baby? What's going on? What's happening?
Whoa. That'd be crazy. Maybe she was Venin when she had Violet, and that's why Violet was born and has loosey-goosey joints. Maybe she was going to find a cure for her Venin. I don't know why she would hide those chapters.
I think that why they say they took her to dedicate is because she was born with her joints and everything were just not as they should be.
Just a thought. Brennan talks about how hard he has been working to feed the people they're taking in. People think he is the great betrayer, right? There are people on the internet that think that. For the first time ever, I just don't think that's his heart to become the great betrayer. But if he does, I think it would be solely for love.
People do think that it's Brennan at the end, that it turns Venin. He's the brother.
Because it says brother, and he's been watching him struggle.
Well, yeah, and he feels like he's not doing enough. Whatever Rebecca hinted with, they're like, Brennan also fits it. And they don't know if they're talking about who's not present at the battle or who's not present at the end of the book.
Right.
So
that's
he's
a huge thing.
He's not talked about in the battle, but he is at the end of the book.
If Berwin is Naolan, it makes sense why it's Brennan there with him, and that's why he said you brought the wrong brother.
Brennan is there at the very end of the book. He's the one that's like asking Violet where she's been. So
he's there at the end of the book, but we don't talk about him during the battle. He's not talked about during the battle. So they're like, when is she talking about to look for who's missing? Is it at the end of the book or is it during the battle? I
think it's on the missing list. We have Garrick. It could still be Bodhi. Like, how devastating would it be that Xaden put so much trust into Bodhi and tried to reassure him that you're the one to take over if anything happens to me, and then it's Bodhi at the end. Damn, that would suck.
To me, that one makes sense too because he has Violet take over for him. He doesn't have Bodhi take over for him, who he says he's going to. Like, Tyrandor's going to be in your hands. You're the only heir. And then it's Violet who he marries and has take over.
Yeah, that would make the most sense, I feel.
But Garrick also makes sense to me because he is a little butthurt that he doesn't have enough power to keep helping. So, I don't know.
There's so many that are in that position that feel like they're not doing enough. That whole...
For a second, I thought maybe it was Dane because he would be the least likely, I feel like, to turn Venin because he's so by the book. But Xaden doesn't think he's a brother, and I doubt he can fight it in him about being Venin whatsoever, so that wouldn't check out.
I would think the only ones really that Xaden has called brother are Garrick and Liam. I don't think he calls Bodhi brother.
Even though they're twins, separated at birth.
They are.
They look so much alike.
Yeah.
Isn't that his cousin?
Yeah.
Or
And he says his only surviving relative, even though he has 2 half-brothers. Chapter 55. Mira isn't talking to Violet, but also not sharing her secret about Xaden. Tyrandor is on the edge of war with Navarre. In return, Xaden is stopping all shipments of Taladium. You know, Taladium, that stuff? Taladium. Violet is working on runes with her squad and Professor Trissa's class and sucking at it more than usual, which is saying something. Mira left that afternoon, but carefully approaches the subject. The whole squad is treating Violet delicately, except Kat. Violet has always used Andarna's power for runes, but now she has to use Terran's. Quinn comes over to help. Seriously, I want to recap this chapter, but I can't not picture a knitting circle when they're doing these runes. I am no closer to understanding runes than I am to pronouncing every dragon's name correctly. Felix takes Violet from runes practice to go practice her signet and gives her a lecture on following orders in battle. But the lecture turns into curiosity as Violet explains she was able to separate a single lightning bolt into 2 to hit 2 targets. He makes her show him. 3 days later, Brennan is mending Violet's overworked muscles in the assembly chamber. She has a week left at Aracia until it's back at Bascaeth. Bodhi and Xaden stumble into the assembly chamber mid-argument. Bodhi thinks his skills in life is worth more than playing backup for Xaden, shall he meet his demise. Bodhi storms out, leaving Xaden, Brennan, and Violet. Brennan hands Xaden a stack of missives and heads out too. Xaden slowly opens letters and asks Violet about her day. She isn't having it. She wants to talk about Xaden preparing for his own demise. He mentions a letter from a priestess at Dune's temple who owes Xaden a favor for Rhee and Violet protecting them, and Melgren warning him that if he flies into battle, he will lose. It's a few days late. Violet jumps right back to the preparing for his own demise discussion. He admits he is, but not without a fight. And since they may only have days, they might as well make good use of the throne. Wink, wink. What the heck is Taladium? It's mentioned at the beginning of this chapter, too. It's obviously a very valuable resource, and I think it has something to do with the armory, but...
I'm pretty sure it's what they use to make the alloy hilts and the daggers to kill the Venin.
I highlighted it and looked it up in the entire book. It's only in the book like 3 times.
Yeah, I think it's mentioned often.
It's what their mines are in Tyrandor. That's why they need to make sure that those are looked after. That's why Melgren mentions it to Xaden. That's why Xaden leaves. So I think it's like they have to have this.
I'd never seen the word. Obviously, it's a big deal for him to cut it off.
Yeah, well, when I read my chapters, I was like, what the fuck is this mine thing? It's mentioned here once, and then it's never mentioned again in the whole book, but I think the connection is here with the Taladium.
It's the salt mines from Throne of Glass. Do you think there is deeper meaning to why Violet is bad at runes? She's just so bad. Why is she so bad? Even with Andarna, she's so bad.
Yeah.
I really think this is another reason why Violet is special. There's something about her that she's, I don't know.
Repels it.
I don't know what it is. It's weird because you're supposed to be able to pluck the strings of magic from the air to then weave your ruin, right? And she can't do that, but she has a lot of magic.
Yeah.
It's very confusing to me.
I still can't picture the runes. I really struggle with the runes.
She gets better, though, when Quinn gives her the idea to, like, try and manhandle it. Like, don't be gentle. Just fucking press it together and get it done.
It makes me laugh that you were still struggling so much even after Throne of Glass series. Because it's kind of similar.
To what?
To what she writes.
With that, I picture like when people do like, I don't know, like witchcraft and they do all the writing. That's what I picture for Throne of Glass.
Like the word sounds that she's creating to open those gates and open those,
Honestly, the only thing I can picture similarly is in Harry Potter movies when Dumbledore takes a memory out of his mind. It comes out like a string and he puts it in this little bowl of all his memories. I picture that string more than I can picture anything else with the runes.
I do too when they're like talking about the thread that they pull on.
I hate Felix in this chapter. I think he's being a little arrogant punk, and I don't like him at all. He's giving Violet too hard of a time to me after what just happened. And once again, I said previously that they're getting on to her for not following orders when it wasn't her choice, and he has to know that. So I think he's wrongfully angry at her.
I think Felix is just hard on her because he wants her to be able to find a way around this and not that he's not letting her grieve. He understands that, but he's also like, you're stronger. We need to practice this. Otherwise, they're going to attack and you're going to be at your most vulnerable.
Yeah, I understand him being a hard ass for the right reasons, but it's just the whole getting on to her for not following orders that really rubs me wrong.
No, it definitely does.
Yeah, I don't think... I mean, Felix is a good teacher for Violet, but I'm not sure he's much better than Carr. He just might be on the side that we like right now, whereas Carr is not.
Does Melgren's message or the priestess, one favor, you think that's going to come into play? Because it says that Melgren's warning him that he's about to lose a battle. They think it's the battle that they just had. But do you think he was actually predicting the battle for the end of the book? Do you think he's predicting another battle?
Considering I think that the priestess favor that he calls in is when he has him marry him and Violet.
Oh, you think that's the favor? That would make
I
sense.
Thought that, almost positive that is. So that's at the end of the book. So it would kind of make sense that the battle was at the end of the book because I don't think they really won that one.
I'm going to jump into the spotlight. Okay, I promise I'm not obsessed with him. And I promise this is the last time that I'll bring this up. But this video is just too cute to not bring up. And if you haven't seen it, go look it up. Alex Warren is on tour right now in Europe, and he was in Norway. And a 50-person kids choir surprised him with singing Ordinary. And it's just the cutest little... Look at them in their little matching sweaters. And I don't know, it's so cute. He was crying. His wife was there. Yeah, he's a sensitive guy. I just love it. I just think that that's so cool that song has really boosted his career, the one of a couple songs that has, but also just how into it people are.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah, brings people together. Fan theories. Number 1, Violet is not just a dream walker, but a mind walker. Rebecca Yarros has said that she has only developed 10% of her signet, hence why she has kept her bonds and is able to project things into Xaden's mind.
I think this 10% of her signet is like, what? You're already so powerful, yet I know you're struggling with the runes. What have we not seen? And her dream walking, her, like, all of this is so important because as those powers get stronger, I think there are things that are just going to start popping off.
She's lightning wielder, but we thought Theophany was lightning wielder Venin, and we learned that she's storm wielder. So is Violet actually storm wielder?
Ooh. Aren't like humans, we only use like a certain percentage of our brain too.
It's very small, in relevance to what we can use.
What if
it's idiocracy? It's why we are getting dumber.
That and probably social media.
Well, we can go into all the whys. That'll be a whole other episode.
Okay, this next one is Berwyn actually Naolan? At this point, I don't honestly know the difference. I feel like I use those names interchangeably. But is Berwyn also the other Dreamwalker?
So do you think Berwyn is Naolan? Is that what you mean by saying you don't know the difference? Is that what your theory is?
No, it's not a theory. It's confusion.
Oh.
I think... I know Naolan was Taryn's rider.
Yeah.
Who is somewhere.
Who's Brennan in love? Who Brennan
was in love with.
Well, we don't know that Brennan was in love with him. That's theorized as well. We know that he's supposedly burned out saving Brennan's life.
which I would only do for a really severe loved one. I think they were lovers. And Berwyn is Xaden's grandfather. Yeah?
No. That is also a theory. It's Berwyn is either Naolan or Berwyn is Xaden's grandfather.
Who's Berwyn, though? Where do we get that name from?
Berwyn is the sage that is in control of Xaden.
That keeps talking to him through those dreams and telling him you're coming to me.
That Xaden tried to kill by throwing off a cliff, which is not how you kill Venin at all. And Xaden should be way smarter than that.
Then yeah, I think that they could be the same person because you could change your name. Names are a big thing. What if when Naolan went Venin, he said, wow, Berwyn just has a ring to it. I'll be Berwyn.
Or it was never Naolan to begin with.
He said,
just kidding. It's just the opposite of what you said. It's the opposite.
I do think Berwyn is another Dreamwalker, though.
I agree with that. I do think Berwyn would be a Dreamwalker. I don't know what theory side I'm on with who Berwyn is. If he's just his own separate guy or is he someone else?
I know he has to be a Dreamwalker, and I think he has to know that Violet is a Dreamwalker. And there's like one dream that she has, and he looks shocked at her, but when she's in Xaden's dream, people say that's him realizing she's in someone else's dream.
Yeah, I think it's evident that he is the Dreamwalker, and that when he notices she's now in the dream and it's not just something random, he's like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now let's wrap it up. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Next week, we will be talking about chapters 56 through 62 of Onyx Storm. And be sure and check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Tune in every Friday wherever you get your
Wherever you get your cock pass? That's what it sounded like.
Podcast.
That's not good. Your podcasts.
Oh my God. Tune in every Friday wherever you get your podcasts for a new episode of Book Thots.